let's take a look at how to divide decimal numbers. We have -9 divided by 7 2/10. How are we going to handle that? Well, -9 is my dividend. It's going to go in the house. And 7 2/10 is my divisor. And it will go on the outside of the house. So the first thing I want to do is I want to move my decimal out of the way, and I want to make 7.2 into a whole number. To do that, I need to move the decimal one place to the right, and now it becomes 72. Whatever I do on the outside to my divisor, I need to do to my dividend also. So I'm going to move that decimal one place to the right. The same way I moved this decimal one place to the right. Instead of having -9, now I have -90. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and divide. 72 goes into 90 one time. I'll bring my decimal straight up. And I know that a negative divided by a positive is a negative. I'm going to go ahead and put my negative sign so I don't forget it. 1 times 72 is 72. 72 from 90, and at this point I'm ignoring my negative signs. I'm just going to do regular subtraction. 90 take away 72 is 18. $72 into 180 goes twice. I get 144, and if I take 144 from 180, the distance between 144 and 150 is 6, and the distance between 150 and 180 is 30. So I end up with 36. I bring down a 0. 72 into 360. I know 72 goes into 100 once, so it'll go into 300 3 times. And then there's 60 left over. I can go ahead and estimate it's going to go about 4 times. So I'm going to stick with 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 7 is 28. At this point, I can see that I could have divided 72 one more time. So I'm just going to change that number. Five times 2 is 10. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 1 more is 36. And I get 0. So I have -1 and 25/100 as my decimal number, my quotient. Let's take a look at a real-world problem. How many 7/500 pound packages can be made with 6 pounds of sunflower seeds? Okay, so I want to divide 6 pounds of sunflower seeds. 6 is going to be my dividend. By 7/500 pounds. I want to see how many times I can get 7/500 out of 6. Again, I'm going to move my decimal to make 7/500 into a whole number. I move the decimal to the end, and I've now made 7/500 into 75. I moved it 2 places, so I'm going to do the same thing inside the house. The decimal would be at the end of the 6, since 6 is a whole number, and I just need to move it 2 places to the right. And I add 2 zeros to fill in those place value spots. 75 goes into 600. I know at least 6 times. I know 25 is left over each time, so I'm going to say about 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 7 is 56. Plus 4 more is 60. And I get 600 exactly. I subtract and have nothing left. I can make 8 bags with 75 hundredths of a pound of sunflower seeds in each if I start it with 6 pounds. Let's take a look at the steps to dividing decimal numbers. First, you move the decimal to make the divisor a whole number. So that's what we did on the outside of the house there. So we moved the decimal to make the divisor a whole number. We turn it into 16 in this case. Step 2. Move the decimal and the dividend the same number of times. So I'm going to go to my dividend. I know that this is a whole number 48, so the decimal is always at the end of a whole number. Since I moved the decimal in my divisor 2 times, I'm going to move the decimal in my dividend 2 times. 1, 2. $16 into 4,800. Step 3, move the decimal straight up. So in my quotient will be up top. I'm going to just move this decimal straight up to the top. Step 4 is to divide. The answer is your quotient. Okay, so after I divide, I have my answer and I'm done. 16, I know goes into 48 3 times. 3 times 16 is 48. I subtract and I get 0. If I divide 16 into 0, I get 0. I'm going to continue to get 0, and I'm going to divide 16 into 0 again and get 300. So the answer here is 300. All right, go ahead and pause it. I want you to pause, and I want you to try these out. Number 2, we have negative 12 and 42 hundredths divided by negative 4 and 8 tenths. And there is a negative sign there. So it's a negative divided by a negative. I happen to know that that's a positive. So I know my answer right off the bat is going to be a positive number. Let's go ahead and divide those. I'm going to put a positive sign up front to show I know my answer is going to be positive. I go ahead and figure out that first so I can be done with that part, and I don't have to worry about getting the whole answer wrong because I left the negative or positive sign off of my answer, which is what I did in number 1. A positive divided by a negative is a negative, or a positive times a negative is a negative. This is a negative 3/8. I left the negative sign off in my answer. It's very easy to do, so it really should be the very first thing we take care of. Negative 2/3. All right, so let's go back down here. 4 and 8 tenths, I've got to move the decimal over 1 place to make it a whole number. I get 48. 12 and 42 hundredths, I'm going to move my decimal 1 place. So now I have 124 and 2/10. I'm going to bring the decimal straight up. Got to make sure that when you divide, that you put your quotient right above the last digit of the number that you divided into. For instance, 48, I'm dividing into 124, and so whatever I get, I'm going to put right above the 4, which is the last digit in the number I'm dividing into. 48 goes into 100 twice, so I'm going to estimate it's probably going to be about 2. 2 times 48 is 96. 96, the difference from 96 to 124, 96 is 4 away from 100. And then 100's 24 away from 124. So 24 and 4 is 28. Bring down my 2. 48 into 282. I know 48 goes into 100 twice, into 200 2 more times, that would be 4 times. And then 82, I would say probably go about 2 more times, since there'll be a little bit left over from the 200 that I've already divided into. So I'm going to say it'll go 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 4 is 24, so 6 times 40 is 240. Plus 40 more is 280. And I get 288. My estimate was too high, so I have to change that 6 into a 5. Five times 8 is 40. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 4 more is 24. I get 42 and bring down my 0, 420. 48 into 420 goes about 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 4 is 32. So 8 times 40 is 320. 320 plus 60 more is 380. And I subtract 84 from another 100. What's the difference in 84 to another 100? It would be 16. And then 400 to 420 would be 20 more, so that's 36. $48 into 360, I would say goes 7 times, excuse me. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 5 more is 33. So 336 from 360, and I made it to the thousands place, and that's where I'm going to stop. Even though I know that there are more numbers behind it, I don't need to go any further. The thousands place is far enough. I may not see the repeating pattern yet, but I may not see the repeating pattern for another 5, 6 digits. So I need to go ahead and stop right here.